Hello everyone, it's Justine. Today I'm going to share 12 cards using the Spellbinders card kit of the month from September 2022. This one was one of my all-time favorites because it is all about crafting and sewing, knitting, all the crafty things that you could think of. So I am going to jump right into the video with my first card, which is a shaker card. And then I will talk more about the kit a little bit later on. Here we go. So my first card is a shaker card, and I love making shaker cards with chipboard frames. So in my left hand, I'm holding one of the chipboard frames, which is that embroidery hoop design. And you could do this with any chipboard frame. It could be a square, a rectangle, a triangle, anything. Now, what I did was I glued a piece of clear acetate directly to it with some liquid glue. I let it sit off to the side for a while to dry. Now, if you're wondering where to find clear acetate, they're sold several different places, but there's a pack on the Spellbinders website, so I will link that in the description. Now I'm going to put some foam on the back to raise up to kind of create a little pocket for my shaker card. Now I like to take the release paper off the back, and as you saw, it's way easier to wiggle around without the paper on the back. So right now I'm working with double-sided foam. Because it is sticky on both sides, I do have to be a little bit careful and intentional of where I am placing it, and I have to be careful to not pull it off too hard to release the acetate from the chipboard frame. So all in all, it's kind of a tricky little process, but it makes a really fun shaker card. You can see there's a card on the top left of the screen that is sitting to dry, and that's basically the look that I am going for. This process is a little bit timely, but it's totally worth it. Now, you could just do one layer of foam. I like to do at least 2 layers, if not 3. 3 is quite a bit high and it's sitting off of the card a lot, but I like a little bit more room for things to go inside it, because when I make shakers, sometimes I use little small beads or some paper pieces, chipboard pieces, so I need a little bit more room. But if you just use sequins or skinny paper, it should be fine to do 1. All right, now that I have finished with my second layer, I will snip the end and just press everything down to make sure that it is secure. And since the double-sided foam has sticky areas, if you will, I like to take my anti-static brush. Now, this is meant for heat embossing, where you take the static or the stick off of the paper before you put the ink on, but I find that it works really well for getting rid of any stick, whether it be stickers, foam tape like this, or glue in general. So I just kind of lightly brush that around. It's kind of inevitable to have a shaker have something stuck in the corner. It just happens. But with that little anti-static brush, if you will, it does help the stick be less. I also like using that anti-static tool when I am using a sticker that I want to move around. So for the back of my shaker, I'm going to use this purpley pink paper. So what I'm going to do is put all of the things that I want inside my shaker on the back paper directly. So I have sequins and I have some little cutout embellishments from the kit that will go inside my shaker. I think I do have one of those hearts is a chipboard frame, but I took the sticky back off of it so it would not stick in the shaker frame. Now that that's ready, I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the outside of my foam, since I have been touching it and it might have gotten that sticky powder on it. I just want to make sure that it's not going anywhere. I'm going to set the adjusting side of that hoop off to the side so I don't have to fuss around with cutting around that area. I'll just let that dry for about, I don't know, about 20 minutes, and then I will cut it out. As that's sitting there, I'm going to put the rest of my card almost all the way together. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape and glue on the colorful pattern paper, and you'll notice that I am using a tape runner that is not my Easy Runner Grand. And if you've watched my videos, you might be thinking, I wonder why she's using that one this time. Well, my craft store was out of refills for my Easy Runner Grand, and these little blue tape runners were what they had on hand, so that's what I'm using. It was a little less cost effective, but that's what you gotta do. Now I'm going to put all of my flowers down just using some liquid glue. I'm using my Barely Art liquid glue, which is available on the Spellbinders website. So if you're interested in that glue, I will have it linked in the description. I will fast forward to the part where I cut out my shaker background. Now you could use pattern paper in the background. I have made shaker cards where I put a stamped image behind the shaker window, but this time I'm going to model this shaker window after the one on the left, where I'm actually going to put a die cut piece on top of the shaker. I also, oh, that's so fun and satisfying, just watch. It's also possible to take a shaker card and glue on some pieces that are permanently stuck to the back. So you can glue like a heart or a sequin directly to the back of the shaker window, and then when it's sitting on a shelf, the card is sitting on a shelf, it will still look like things are all over, but to me it's inevitable that things are going to get stuck on the sides anyway, but to each their own. I will now add quite a bit of liquid glue to the back to make sure that the whole thing is secure to my card. I will gently press and kind of press the inside a little bit, since that back window is what is holding the whole thing on. Next, I will put on my die cut sentiment, and I love that it is stitched with the word especially, because this is kind of a sewing themed card. To make sure that my die cut piece doesn't sag down, I'm going to use a little bit of foam dimension to kind of prop it up. Plus it adds even more dimension, which makes this card even more fun and exciting. I've even made shaker cards with the small windows from some of the smaller die cut or chipboard windows that have come in previous kits. I remember there was one where there was an oval chipboard and it was pretty small, and I popped a little bird sitting on the side and it was so cute. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of sequins scattered around. Typically there are sequins included in the card kit. There wasn't any sequins included in this month's, but I had leftovers from another kit that I thought matched nicely, so I went ahead and added those to my shakers. There's a look at my 2 finished shaker cards. Now for this card design, if you will, I tried out something a little different. So I am going to stamp a stamped sentiment with the stamp set that comes in the kit directly onto some pattern paper. This is going to go behind my embroidery hoop. And if you notice that pink paper on the left, I took that 6x6 paper pad paper, cut it directly in half to make 2 triangles. Now I'm going to position this on the card kind of at an angle, and I'm going to have some leftovers, so I'm going to cut it off on the side. The look that I was going for was kind of like a quilt or some kind of a sewed piece of fabric, kind of a close-up of that. So I just am adding that onto some of the cardstock that came in the kit and putting it right on to the card base. Then I'm going to take my chipboard hoop and put it right on my pattern paper. This really creates a wow without even making a shaker card. You don't have to make a shaker card with these hoops to make them really beautiful. So I'm going to put this right onto my card, and then I'm going to add those really beautiful little hands that are right there with some foam dimension. This will kind of pop off the side on the bottom right of the frame. Now these two cards are a pretty good example of what I call sister cards. They are cards that look very similar, using very similar, if not the exact same materials, and they look a little different. So there's this one, and the one that I'm going to make next with the materials on the left are close, but not the same. To finish off this card, I took a little bit of my black pen and just did some dashes to mimic a stitched line right on the card. And of course, I added some sequins for shine. So you can see that those cards are similar, but they're not exactly the same. They're sisters. Now for this card, this is truly a collage card. It is full of all sorts of bits and bobs. I used a mixture of pattern paper, stickers, chipboard elements, all sorts of things from the kit, but it all goes together, and that's the beauty of a card kit. Everything goes together, all the colors match, it's beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of briefly share what is in the card kit as I craft. So there are 10 cards, 10 envelopes, there are 9 pieces of cardstock, we have a set of 9 dies. I will make one card using the dies in video number 2. So if you're interested in seeing what I do with the dies, check out number 2. There's a paper pad, and it's not just a typical paper pad. That paper pad has 40 pieces of paper. So there's 20 designs, 2 of each, and they're single-sided. There's also a pack of chipboard embellishments, a stamp set that is reusable. There's a sticker pack, which is full of stickers. I believe that was 4 pages of pretty large pages of stickers. There's chipboard frames like I've already used in this video. Die cut shapes, there's tons of those. And lastly, there are foam squares and adhesive tape for your gluing needs. This card was kind of a brainchild that I've been thinking about for a while. And I always ask myself, how can I use the paper pad all the way? And that means using all of the scraps. And I love the Spellbinders paper, but I just don't know what to do with all the small pieces. So this time I made kind of like a quilt design. So I took some of my favorite pieces of scrap paper and just kind of put them on a card base to see how they would go. So it's kind of like a little puzzle. Then I'm going to take this black pen here and do a faux stitched design on the edge of each one, so it looks like a little patchy quilt. I really like the way that this turned out, and the sentiment really ties everything all together. In a way, I think the sentiment kind of looks like a tag that would go into a clothing piece. So I really like this card, and I think it's very easy to recreate. If you're interested, go for it. Now this one was themed around knitting. So this was really reminding me of some of the women in my family and their craftiness. So I have this really neat pattern paper that is full of all sorts of bits and bobs. Then I have, I believe some of these are stickers. So the sentiment is a sticker I think some of the yarn are stickers, some of them are die cut pieces, and just to add interest, I will add some foam tape behind some of these pieces. Some of them will just get a little bit of liquid glue. Again, I love how everything coordinates with the card kits, and it really makes it easy to whip up some cards. And how cute are these knitting needles? I do want to encourage anyone who's not tried a card kit in the past to give it a try. You really don't need too many materials to utilize the card kit all the way. I think some of the materials that you might need would be a scissors, maybe some liquid glue, and maybe some creativity from your own head. There's quite a lot in the card kits, and it's fun. Go ahead and give it a try. And if you are part of the monthly subscriptions, they're available at a discounted price. And if you're interested in trying a card kit but don't want to spend even too much money at all, there are clearance club kits. So I will link that link in the description as well if you're interested in checking out some of the older card kits that they have put out. Maybe that's more your style, and that's okay. I wanted to leave in this next part of my video because it shows that sometimes you can try something and not like it and make something even better. Here I am adding this black Nouveau drops onto my card. I thought that it would be really nice to go with my black sentiment, and I just couldn't stand it. To me, it looked like there was bugs on the card, and I'm not the biggest fan of bugs. And I tried to cover it up by adding a sequin, and it just wasn't doing it for me. So I actually ended up scraping off the Nouveau drops, of course pondering for a minute with my nails. And here I am wiping it off, and that's okay because I'm going to make it better. And even if I didn't, you don't have to love every single thing that you make. Just do it for the fun of creating. And that's kind of how I started with these card kits in the first place. Was kind of like an escape for me to not think about anything that was too stressful in life and just sit down and make something and focus on something else for a little while. So what I ended up doing was scraping off all of that black Nouveau drops and putting some liquid glue down over where they were and adding on some pretty large pearly gems. And they covered up all of my first go around try, and I liked the way the card turned out, so that's okay. I'm going to use a mixture of sequins as well because some of the pearls weren't quite fitting over the black, so that's okay. Anyway, but that's kind of the beauty of card making and really crafting in general. If you make a mistake, you either have to start all the way over or make it work. And that's what I did. I made it work. For my next card here, I'm using quite a lot of the floral pieces that are from the die cut pack, and I created kind of a little floral cluster. To not lose my placement, I'm using some craft tape, and I gently pressed on to my pieces. Now, this craft tape was used before, so it's not too terribly sticky. I would be cautious with using craft tape like this when it's fresh off the roll. Something you can do to make it a little less sticky is to kind of stick it on your clothing or arm and kind of peel it off a couple times just to get rid of some of the stick so it's not sticking onto the paper too much. This is of course just for moving things around. For other crafting needs, the stickiness is perfect, so just my 2 cents. Now the bottom sentiment is actually a sticker, and I took that sticker and put it on a piece of white cardstock, then cut it out. This kind of gives a little more oomph to the stickers and creates kind of a centerpiece, whether that be like this card or just something else on the side. And now I did the same thing with that live, laugh, love. Sorry, live, laugh, love is how it's usually said, but this one is live, love, laugh, and craft. So that was a sticker that I put on to some pink cardstock this time. Some of the stickers just really make some beautiful center pieces for cards, and some of them are smaller and make really nice little supporting embellishments. Occasionally when I make a card, I have things that I think of in my head and I think, oh, that will look great, and then it doesn't make it on the card when I actually put it together. And that little peach chipboard element on the bottom there almost didn't make it on the card, but I thought, why not? We'll put it on there. Now I have one card finished on the top there, and I'm kind of modeling this one after it, but not quite, because guess what? I ran out of chipboard frames. What? That's okay. Not to worry, I'm going to make something else here. I have the pattern paper that matches my die cut shapes here, and I have some chipboard pieces that are going to kind of coordinate to have this be a sewing, embroidery themed card with some really sweet flowers. Like I said, I love the pattern paper. I think that even the little green stitched hearts is just so sweet, and it coordinates. That green paper matches that chipboard embroidery hoop. The scissors matches the flower. The flowers match the flowers on the embroidery hoop. So it just makes sense in my head to put these together. And if you're new to card making or using card kits, don't worry if it doesn't come perfectly to you right away. Just try something. Try to make something that you could recreate, something you see on YouTube or on Pinterest, or you can try something yourself. A good way to start is maybe look at some card sketches on Pinterest and see if you can make something that's similar, and then try to make it your own. But crafting is all about having fun, and don't be stressed about making something that is perfect every time. All right, I'll climb down off of my soapbox and I'll just say that these are my finished cards for this video. I will have 2 more videos coming out with more cards, basically. So I will have those 2, and then I will have a video the middle of September, show all of the cards that I made with the club items. So that will be with the stamp and the amazing paper grace. And I love the stamp of the month, so be on the lookout for those videos as well. If you've enjoyed today's video, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe to my channel if you are interested in seeing any more videos from me. I would also love to know which card today was your favorite card. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I hope you get to craft soon. Bye!